listen up. This is the Music Scene Podcast. I am your host, Dave Cudrak. I am very, very excited to tell you about the guest that we have on today. His name is Dimitris Loizos. I first discovered him on Instagram. He has hundreds of thousands of followers, and he is based out of London. So today is our first international episode here at the Music Scene Podcast. So very exciting. Had a great time talking with Dimitris. He played a sold-out show in London a few months back, and he is planning on doing a record, a full-length record in 2025, maybe early 26. But you'll hear all those details in our conversation, and we get an incredible performance from him at the end. So highly, highly, highly recommend sticking around for that. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Dimitris Loizos. So I really appreciate you joining. I had first discovered you on Instagram. Mm-hmm. It was years ago, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
This is the first time you and I have really kind of communicated. Mm-hmm. But I found you on Instagram. I think at the time I was just posting me doing little guitar riffs on Instagram. So I started following a bunch of guitar players, and you were one of them. But yeah, this is the first time we're getting a chance to really talk at length.
Good connect as well. I've checked your podcast a little bit, and it's really good. Yeah, I was pleased to get an invitation for it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome. Mm. So I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name right. It's Dimitris, and is it Loizos?
Loizos, yes, exactly. The first name correct.
Loizos.
Yes.
Okay, great. Excellent. So tell me a little bit about, I know I think you're currently in the UK, right?
I'm based in London, yes.
You're based in London. Okay, So this is exciting. This is a first for my podcast. I've never spoken with anybody outside of the United States, so that's exciting. I love it. I love it. So where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Greece. I was born and raised in Athens, Greece. I moved to London 6 years ago in 2019, really early in the year. And yeah, it's been a wild ride since then. I've had multiple jobs. I've tried to make it work as a musician, as a working musician, and it's 6 years later. I'm finally, making it. Not quite yet.
Awesome.
There is a lot of things to do still, but
Sure.
getting there.
Are you currently a full-time musician? Is that your main source of income?
No, but this is from my choice. I'm somebody that I get bored quite easily. So if I have one thing to do for the rest of my life, I'm gonna, blow my brains out. So I like to keep myself, inspired, and I like to do multiple different projects and things at the same time, and music is one of them.
Okay. What are some of the other things you work on?
I do produce music, and I do the technical sound engineering kind of stuff, and I also love photography, so I sometimes work as a photographer as well, and videographer now with content and everything.
Sure.
I do that, and again, content creation is a big passion of mine, and editing and all of these things. So I keep myself busy with that as well.
Okay. I'm curious, so obviously your world consists of a lot of content creation, video editing, audio production, things like that. What's your background? Did you go to school for this sort of thing, or is it something that you kind of developed naturally?
I actually went to school and studied winemaking. That's my university degree.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it took. I worked as a winemaker or beer maker for a couple of years, and I realized that it's not really exciting. It was a very mundane job. It was the same thing every day. It's working in a factory, effectively.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I wanted to, do something different and more creative. And at the time, I think I only had maybe a couple of €100 in Greece, and I could afford a camera. So I bought myself my first DSLR, and I started shooting different things, and then the passion grew, and I moved to London 6 years ago, and from when I moved here till maybe a couple of years ago, that was my full-time job, being a photographer and a
Wow.
videographer later on. So
Okay,
that was,
great.
my background that
Mm-hmm.
I've learned by YouTube and doing a lot of courses online and trying
Yep.
and, failing and trying again.
That's right. That's fantastic. That's amazing that you came from kind of a wine background and now you're this, very popular guitar player, musician on, I think on Instagram, you've got somewhere around 140,000 followers. YouTube, I think you're sitting at about 13,000 subscribers, and then TikTok, 157,000 followers. So that's amazing. That's absolutely
Thank
amazing.
You so much. Yeah, it has been, it's been a wild ride, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still not sure what I'm doing. I'm just, posting guitar videos.
Yeah. Well, you are. You're not just an Instagram guitarist. You have a lot of music out on Spotify and Apple Music. You have your EP that you released, I think last year, and then your latest song. Your latest song was released December of this past year. I saw that you had a gig in London recently. Is that a gig where you're playing original music and you're selling tickets for, or?
Yes. So the gig, yes, exactly. I brought my band from Greece, my mates.
Oh wow!
And I put the whole thing myself. I didn't have any organizers or anybody. I just booked the venue and, created my ticketing system and advertised it. And from the 0 to 100, I pieced all of the puzzle together.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a good experience, and I do like putting events. I'm trying to do this once a year, where I bring my band here and then we play.
Okay.
And I'm focusing more on doing 1 or 2 quality gigs here a year, rather than going around and playing every week.
Okay. Yep.
I don't know. I financially, it doesn't really make sense to do a lot of gigs because
it's tough.
It's not. I made a loss and I sold out the venue.
Oh boy!
It's I can't figure out how I can profit from gigging yet, but
I don't know if you watch that YouTuber Mary Spender. Do you know her?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with her. Yes.
Okay, yeah, she did a whole vlog. She went on tour in the UK, and I think she ended up losing like 19,000 pounds or something like that.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
it's crazy. I wonder how people are doing it and being profitable.
I don't know
if they
either.
are.
I think in today's day and age, it's very difficult to make money playing live original music.
It is, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I love playing music live, and I love bringing my band and putting a fun event for everybody. But if you can't make enough money and you're invested £1,000 up front, and then you're not sure if you're gonna sell out, and then you have big overheads that you like, it's a risk. And
absolutely.
I don't think it's worth the risk in terms of what you're getting back. It's obviously you get to interact with people, and that's amazing. So I'm working on the side if I can dial down my set and I can do it by myself with loops.
Okay.
I don't want to do backing tracks, but trying to live loop on the spots and things like that. But to answer your question, how the music and the social media kind of works together.
Yes, please.
That was the reason why I started doing my social media and posting and being consistent with it. It was because I wanted to promote my music, and I wanted to build a fan base that I don't have to pay for ads for people to hear my music. I can connect with the audience, directly. And that's the main reason why I do have and still post on my social media, because I think it's the best way to promote your music. And again, you're not making a full income from this, but it's something I do for my passion, and I'm okay with not making my full-time income from music just yet, because I just love it.
I think that's again, gone are the days where a musician would get signed to a major label, and the label would throw a whole bunch of money out at them, and then they could just take time to record their album and go on tour and all that stuff. I think today's musician really needs to have multiple streams of income in order to survive and still do the work that they're passionate about, right?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And a lot of touring musicians that I know, and I follow online as well, they all say the same thing, that it like you have to have other jobs, and it's okay to still do music and then have a part-time job or a full-time job. That's completely normal, because how else would you fund your passion and your life? Life is expensive nowadays. It wasn't, like
it sure is.
We have mortgages and rents to pay. And then,
exactly. Yeah. And you're living in London, which is like the most expensive city in the world. So
it's crazy, to be honest. And I often think to move back to Greece, where I'm from, where everything is cheaper. You have good weather, good food, but I think the opportunities are not there. And being in this network of musicians and artists and creatives, I think it gives you a little bit of something. Not necessarily for your work, but at least for myself, for my work ethic.
Oh, okay.
But if everybody's trying to do something here, then it kind of motivates you to, keep at it.
I see. So because of the, I don't want to say competitive nature, but because there are other like-minded musicians or artists like yourself, that's helping to motivate you for more, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay. Got it. So let's talk a little bit about your influences. Your website specifically calls out David Gilmour and Peter Green.
Yeah.
Very, very good choices, I might add.
Thank you.
but I can definitely hear a lot of Gilmour in your playing. I've been listening to your music for a while now. I can definitely hear a lot of Gilmour type bends and the soulfulness of your playing. Is that a conscious choice to say, like, well, I want to kind of mimic my Guitar Hero, or is your style just something that's developed over time?
I think it's the second, because funny enough, I don't really know that many Gilmour solos. I know 3 or 4, but not, the whole catalog. So I haven't necessarily stole his licks, but I really love his sound. And I think the way he can express himself, and he can, allow him to be vulnerable with his music and specifically with the guitar, for some reason it really resonates with me, and I really, really enjoy that.
Yeah, vulnerable is a great word to use. It describes it perfectly. It's absolutely. And I hear that in your playing. Your playing is it's great. It's great. So if anybody out there is listening is not familiar with Dimitris' work, check him out on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Apple Music and Spotify. He's all over the place. I think you'll definitely dig it. What kind of gear are you using? I've seen a number of different guitars on your Instagram posts. I've seen Les Pauls. I've seen Strats. I may have seen a Jaguar in there somewhere.
I don't have a Jaguar yet, but I'm working on it. I think I have a problem with gear. I don't know how about you, but I can't seem to sell guitars. I keep buying them, but I always have attachment to them.
Okay.
If I write a couple of songs on each guitar, then I don't feel like, I can't sell this guitar now. It means so much to me.
Yep. Well, when you're rich and famous, you can say, this is the guitar that I wrote such and such song on.
Exactly. At some point, I might have to, because I might have to put them in a storage unit, because at the moment,
how many do you have?
I think I have 18 guitars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a lot, but if you consider that that's part of my income,
Exactly.
At least
they're more investments.
Yeah, it goes against my tax. So if I buy a guitar, it's expenses.
Right. Exactly. You can write it off. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's my excuse to still buy guitars.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
But I love classic stuff like Les Pauls and Strats, and I think I have 3 Les Pauls and 2 Strats. And I do love my Duosonic. It's like a smaller body guitar that, for some reason, has an amazing sound. And, I clicked with that guitar instantly.
Yeah.
And I do use it a lot. And I've
seen that guitar on your posts. It's nice.
Yeah, it's quite... I didn't expect this to be, one of my main guitars, but it's...
Oh, really? Okay.
It's really fun to play because it's small. It feels like you can do more things that... my fingers are not, big, so I can move a little bit faster and do a few more things.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. What kind of amps and stuff are you using?
I don't own any amps. I actually own one amp, but it's back in Greece. I own a Marshall Origin 20, I think, if you're familiar with them.
Yes.
Quite cool amp, but nowadays I'm using Amplitube for most of my stuff, and I use the pedal version of that, the Tone X from IK Multimedia.
Okay. Yep.
Which it's like an amp modeler that you can put stuff in, like do the impulse response, and I think
I'm sorry. I saw you have amplitude presets available on your website. Is that
exactly? Yes.
I'm not too familiar with that. Explain that to me.
So Amplitube is a software that you can, you have digital amps. So you plug your guitar into your interface, and then you use that interface, that DI signal, that dry signal, to influence the sounds with anything you want to use in the software. And then you can save these patches, if you want to call them like that, or presets, and then you can extract them, put them in a CSV file and then send them to people, or
that's great.
When you load the preset, then you have exactly how I've mapped the guitar sound from, what amp I'm using, what microphone, emulations you have, like the spacing, the room. Nowadays you can control a lot of different things.
Yeah, and that's awesome.
And these presets are really fun because they're most of them are the ones that I've used for anything I've recorded online.
Okay.
It's YouTube videos, Instagram posts, or even my songs that are on Spotify. I've used that so people can download exactly the sound I've recorded for X and Y and Z song.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really cool.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yep. A lot of people take a long time trying to replicate one of their heroes, tone, and it must be nice to just kind of, download it, plug and play,
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I think it's more about the connection you have with the instrument rather than the sound.
Yeah. Yep.
Like
there's that saying that tone is in the fingers, right? Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. If you give Gilmour a Squire for like £100 and then a cheap amp, he's gonna do something.
He'll make it sound like David Gilmour.
Exactly. Yeah. It's it's a fun journey and a fun thing to invest some time and love into it, like the pedals and amps and everything.
Yeah.
But
I know you said you have a lot of guitars. Do you consider yourself like a gearhead? Do you buy a lot of like pedals and all that stuff too?
I used to. Nowadays, not so much.
Okay.
I'm pretty happy with the sound I have, and I think going digitally, it allowed me to have more for way less.
Sure.
And everything compacts into a laptop, and I can have my exact sound everywhere. I'd rather do that than carry a heavy bag with pedals. Although, to be said, when we did this gig a couple of months ago, I had the full on board and a lot of pedals. So I still do that from time to time. But
So
it's
very
a mix.
Cool. So when did your musical journey really kind of first begin? I mean, how old were you when you first picked up the guitar? Was the guitar your first instrument?
The guitar was my first instrument, and I was, I think I was 11 or 12 years old. And as a kid, I wanted to try a lot of different things, and I still have this to this day. So I did a bunch of, activities as a kid, like basketball and tennis and a lot of things. And my parents were a bit reluctant because I was asking them, can I start guitar lessons? And for a year, they were like, oh, no, you're going to, quit within three months.
Yeah.
So I couldn't start, but what I had some pocket money, 60 euros, if I remember correctly. And I gave these 60 euros to my mom and said, I was like 10, 11 years old. And I said, go and buy me a guitar. You don't have to, pay for lessons. I just want a guitar. And it's funny because I'm left-handed. But my mom didn't know that left-handed guitar existed. So she bought me a regular guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
I'm
had to.
left-handed too, but play right-handed. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know about your story. I'm curious to see why you didn't go the other way.
Sure. Well, I mean, mine's a real quick, short story. My parents got me a cheap acoustic guitar when I was maybe like 7 or 8 years old for Christmas, and I opened it up and I picked it up and I held it left-handed, and my dad basically said, no, you hold it this way. And I was like, yeah, but this is the way it's comfortable. No, well, then we have to move the strings around and all that stuff. And I was like, all right, well, that sounds like a lot of work. I'll just play this way.
To be honest, something similar happened to me as well. You know, it was the wrong way, so I had to flip it.
Yeah.
And I still remember to this day that the first guitar lesson I had, I was really proud of myself because I thought it was a classical guitar. So all of the tuning pegs were, I thought to myself, because back then we didn't have the internet, that they had to be, parallel with each other.
Oh, right.
I just tuned my guitar in that way. And when I went to my teacher, she told me, "Oh, show me what you know how to play." And she said, "Let me tune your guitar first." And everything was off after that.
Sure.
I had to relearn everything I kind of knew.
That's so funny. So what kind of tuning did you instinctively put your guitar in?
No, it's like if you have your tuning pegs, right?
Yeah.
They
had to be lined up, physically lined up.
They have to line. So that was the tuning. I have no idea. That was for a year as well. So
wow,
I have no idea what it might have
That's
been.
fantastic. It was probably like E flat and C sharp, and who knows,
probably
so
something
funny.
in between these notes as well.
Exactly.
But it was really interesting because I think I from a young age I developed my ear.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could hear something on the TV, on MTV or like the radio, and I could play by the pitch of it. I could try to find it, and because my guitar wasn't tuned enough, I was trying different places in the neck.
Okay. Yep.
So I think somehow it worked for my favor.
It may have helped. Yeah, it may have actually helped because it really strengthened your ear because you were listening and trying to find those notes. That's great.
And also the location, I wasn't stuck in the first position. I was trying to find it around wherever it could work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what did you do after you kind of picked up the guitar? Did you ever put it down for a long period of time, or did you join a band? What was kind of the path?
So I started learning classical guitar for 4 years, and I went into I wanted to like do a university degree on that, but I think when I hit 16 years old, I grew my hair long, and I started listening to Led Zeppelin, so
nice.
That dream went away. But I had bands from like that age when I was probably 15 years old. With one of my good friends, Sotiris, he started as a guitar player, and we used to have, a band that we were just the two of us playing, and he was singing, I was playing the lead guitar. And then we found a drummer, so we formed my first band, and we did a gig, and it was amazing. It was the best, time of our lives. Yeah.
What was the name of your band back then?
I can't remember. I think it was something like Hot Picks or something, something crazy and weird, but
nice.
But then my friend Sotiris, the guitar player and singer, he became a drummer, and still is an amazing drummer. And we started playing in a band, and so I started, being more comfortable on the guitar, and I joined a bunch of bands.
Oh, cool.
I even played in a death metalcore band for 4 years.
Right. Yeah. Yep. What was the name of that band? Do you remember?
It was called Venetian Mask. That was back in Greece, and we used to play some like really progressive deathcore things.
Very
with
cool.
really odd signature times and things like that. It was really fun. Difficult
that's
as well,
awesome. So when did you go from kind of being in a band, to just kind of deciding, well, I think I'm going to try my own thing?
One of my biggest things and problems I had with bands is if I was writing a song and I brought it to the band, because everybody has opinions about the song.
Sure. Yep.
It's never gonna be exactly how you wrote it, and
Right.
it's gonna turn into something different. And although it's fun, and it's a good creative process to have other people influence your work and create something nice at the end, but it felt a bit disconnected with what I wanted to do as an artist and as a musician and as a human being, to truly express myself the way I felt like I could hear myself. And I don't know if it makes sense, but
it does.
And I started writing songs. I still had my bands and I was writing songs for these bands, but I started writing songs for me as well. And I put them out and slowly try to increase my production value and do more of that. Hire musicians to play for my songs, and studying in uni about music engineering and production as well. And that slowly I'm building my skills. But I think it was that I wanted to just express exactly what I had in mind, and not having other people just influence.
Did you ever do so I don't know if you've looked at any of my socials, but as a musician, I'm primarily a solo acoustic cover artist. I have a couple of songs out on Apple Music and Spotify, but my main source of music income, because I work full time, not as a musician, I have a full-time job, and then I do music on the weekends. My main source of music income is just going to bars and restaurants and playing acoustic cover songs. Did you ever go down that route? Have you always kind of been an electric blues guitar player?
I did, and I used to work in Greece back in the day. I used to work as an acoustic guitar player.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But because Greek music has a lot of bar chords, I don't know what kind of music you mainly play, but I messed my tendons in my arm.
Okay.
So for a couple of months I couldn't play. My doctor said just don't play the guitar.
Oh, wow.
And I decided that the playing the guitar is really important to me, so I don't want to sacrifice me being able to play what I want for 100 200 euros or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
So I've made the conscious decision to keep music at the time as a hobby and as an expression, and then have a job.
Okay. Yep. I see you also, I guess you provide guitar lessons as well. Did I see that right on your website? Yeah. So how does that work? Like, let's say if somebody in the United States wanted to do guitar, is that something you would be open to?
Yeah, and funny enough, all of maybe 85% of my students are from the States.
Oh, nice.
Which is, it's really nice, and I get to sharpen my American English.
There you go.
Which is good.
Yeah, it's great. Your English is great, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah,
you're welcome.
It's been a work in progress in the last.
I bet. If you do a guitar lesson, is it online, like face to face, similar to what we're doing now?
Exactly. Or? Yes.
Okay.
So I do two different things. I do 1-to-1 via Zoom or Google Meets or one of these platforms, and I do have my laptop camera, and I do have this camera that I'm using now, which I can zoom in the guitar and I can show different angles. So
nice.
Distance is always a problem because you're not physically in the room to adjust minor details. But I think having a second camera is the best way I found that I can show people what I'm doing and how I'm placing my fingers or my elbow or whatever it might be. And then the other thing I'm doing is maybe a couple of times a year. I want to do a bit more of that now, but is live workshops where we have 9 people in one session, a Zoom session, and then we go through a specific topic. And usually these workshops are 4-week long, so we can cover something a bit more in depth and have homework. Nice. And it's a cheaper option if you want to do some lessons, but it's still the same value
that's very cool.
Private lesson.
Do you have any other family members that are musical, or are you pretty much the only one?
I do have one cousin that is actively playing music, and he's releasing some songs. it's not his full-time thing, and he's have a full-time really successful career, but he's doing that as a fun project. And a lot of my cousins have tried playing the guitar or the bass and things like that, but none of them stuck to it apart from my cousin.
Sure. I would imagine with the size of the audience that you have, and I may be wrong, but I'm just kind of assuming that you've maybe played some memorable gigs, or maybe you've interacted with folks that are out there doing music full time, or so have you. I guess my question is, are there any kind of gigs in the past that have like stood out? Have you jammed with anybody that like people would know? Any experiences like that, given the size of your following?
That's a really good question. I was really grateful to get invited when Gibson announced their showroom in London.
Okay.
I was really blessed to be invited before their opening to
the Gibson Garage in London, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So going there, I've met so many amazing musicians, and I've connected with a lot of them. But I haven't played or jammed with a famous musician still. But that's something I really want to do at some point, and maybe do a bit more session work coming in the next coming years. So I'm still working on it, and definitely having a following helps, because
absolutely. Yep.
It's easy to connect with artists, and nowadays, unfortunately or fortunately, having a social media following is an extra credibility, or it's interesting. But to answer your question, not just yet.
Okay. All right. I think I saw, and I'm going to throw out another YouTuber. I don't know if you know who he is, but Paul Davids. He's from Amsterdam, I think. But I saw him. I think he did a video at the London Gibson Garage when they opened.
I think he was there. He was with Jimmy Page as well.
Yeah. That's right. I remember that.
Yeah, it was a fun day, definitely.
That's all. So were you in the same room? Were you breathing the same air as Jimmy Page?
Yeah. The thing that how they made it work is they've booked people in 2-hour slots.
Okay.
So you had to pick your slot, but I think we were in the transition of when I was leaving, they were coming in. So wow. I didn't unfortunately get to shake hands with them, but I could see them entering the building. Which
that's amazing. That's good enough for me.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the beauty in living in London, because you get people, you can see people walking down the street, and it's Jimmy Page or Paul McCartney or
right. That's great.
And one of my favorite memories, it was I used to work in Denmark streets in a guitar shop, and a lot of people came to the shop, and at some point, as we were just packing up the shop or doing something, Joe Bonamassa walks in the building.
That's amazing.
And I was the only fan. Everybody didn't really knew him, or they were more into indie stuff. I was like, oh wow, this is Joe Bonamassa. And
that's amazing.
Out of all of the guitars we had, Joe Bonamassa bought a drum machine.
Really?
Yeah, like out of everything you could have bought.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's so funny. What was the name of that guitar store, that music store? Do you remember?
It was Wunjo's in Denmark Street.
Wunjo's?
Wunjo's. WUJNO.
Okay,
Wunjo's. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I've never heard of it, but yeah, I'll look it up. I'm interested.
It's a cool shop. Yeah, all of the Denmark Street shops are quite
sure.
Cool and nice.
There are a lot of stores like that on Denmark Street, right?
Yeah. Nowadays, not so many. Probably 10 years ago, there were 15 shops. Now, I think there are 6 or 5.
As far as like 2025 goes, I mean, it's February. It's still relatively early in the year. Do you have any projects or goals, expectations for 2025?
Yes. So I'm working right now on 3 new singles.
Oh, nice.
That probably they're going to be coming out in the next maybe 2 or 3 months. And I have this idea of I want to create my debut album.
Okay.
Because to this day, I haven't released an album. I've only released some EPs and some singles. And I'm still trying to figure out the theme and the concept of that album. But I'm leaning towards very raw, very, deep and vulnerable guitar playing with, I want to make a conceptual album that, goes from point A to point B, and there is a story within the album. So I'm still trying to work out how this is going to look and how, I'm going to piece things together. But I'm really hoping that I'm going to record that during this year and then hopefully release it either by the end or early next year.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm looking forward to hearing that. That's awesome. What's your writing process look like when you're writing new songs? Walk me through that process.
It varies a lot. I never start with lyrics. That's my weak point, if I may say. My strong point is the guitar, so something tends to come from the guitar. Or sometimes I might sit on the piano and I might play some nice chords, and I can start building that from there. Sometimes maybe I can listen to a song and it has a cool groove, and I might try to replicate something like that on my DAW and then add something to it, maybe bass or keys, and try to build a loop, and then slowly that becomes a song. But mainly I release blues songs, so it's quite a simple form as a song, but I want to get more into more complicated things.
Sure. When I find whenever I try to write like a bluesy song, it always comes out as some kind of variation of just like a 12-bar blues, and I'm trying to figure out how to kind of break out of that pattern, because there's there's got to be blues songs that are more than just a 12-bar blues.
100%. Yeah, it's a struggle, isn't it? Because your brain goes to the 12-bar blues immediately. But good examples can be Tennessee Whiskey by Chris Stapleton. That's a really good blues song that I don't think it follows the 12-bar blues.
Right.
And I'm listening to that kind of style of music recently, and a bit more country, folk, bluesy kind of thing. So it's definitely an inspiration.
Okay. Yes, I mean, you previously mentioned, classic rock, Led Zeppelin, stuff like that when you were a teenager. And then, most recently, country type music. What other types of music? I mean, I'm not familiar with the types of music that exist in Greece. However, I did work as a banquet server at a Greek restaurant here that's in the United States, and they did a lot of Greek weddings.
Okay, so the sound.
Yeah, the Greek weddings would have the live bands, and I got familiar with a few of the songs and all that stuff. So tell me a little bit more about some other genres that you may have listened to over the years.
I do really like music in general. The only type of music I don't really listen is trap and that really modern music,
electronic dance music type stuff.
I don't mind electronic music. Like I really love artists like Monolink or Dark Side, if you're familiar with them.
I don't think so, but I'll look them up.
Yeah, Dark Side, they're quite fun because they've bridged the electronic beat kind of music with guitar and
cool.
Which is, they have a really good, nice sound. Monolink as well, he's a producer that he's playing live with loops, and then he has a guitar and plays and performs with that. So something like that, it's really fun, and I definitely love listening to it. I went from metal, all the way to jazz, all the way to blues, soul, funk, all of the everything has to give you, like, has something to give.
Yeah, you did I saw you did a cover of Maggot Brain from Funkadelic.
Yes,
which is great, by the way. I love your version of it. It's awesome. Yeah, it's great. So did you spend a lot of days listening to like Funkadelic and other bands like them?
Yes, 100%. Maggot Brain is a song that it really changed the way I see the guitar in so many ways, because it was the first time I think I've listened to this song when I was 16 years old. And up to this point, nothing really clicked with the guitar. I really liked it, but that was the first time when I pressed play and listened to that song. There was almost like a channel between Eddie Hazel, the guitar player that played that song. His heart, his emotions, the whole world it was printed in audio. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's
I love the way you describe it. It's great.
Yeah, it's like, and I think from that moment on, I didn't realize it at the time, but something now I'm coming to realize is that music and any form of art, but music in general, specifically, I feel like it's a source of energy that you can always go back to it and withdraw that energy from that artist. And that's, that when I realized that, then this is what I was doing, my whole perspective in what I was producing and how I was producing it, it was different. And that's what I've tried to do with this song. I've built the backing track or the production of that song. And then I sat down one day and I pressed record and I said to myself, it has to be one take.
You did it in one take?
Yeah,
really?
And I did a whole video of that, one take. So you can, I put the camera.
I'm going to check that out, yeah.
It was quite daunting and really scary to do it, but I think that was the only way to honor Eddie and, try to do a similar thing like he did, which obviously it's not, at least to my ears, it's not as good, but yeah.
It's fantastic. Don't sell yourself short. Much. It's fantastic.
I think music can be deeper than just a song.
Absolutely, yeah. I find myself wanting to know more about musicians that I admire, like yourself. I mean, I've scoured, your website or your other social medias, and yes, I see the bio, which is great. But I really want to know kind of like all about your musical journey, right? So I'm excited that I had the opportunity to interview and learn all that stuff. You know what I mean? I would have no idea that you went to school for winemaking if we didn't actually talk, So stuff like that is amazing to me. It's what gets me excited. So I really appreciate you just taking the time to talk to me and all that stuff.
No, thanks so much for the invite. And I guess because your audience is more guitar player and musicians, if I may, one little piece of, I don't want to call it advice, but my point of view on things is that try to be as authentic as possible with your music. And because if you must succeed in life or music and you don't enjoy what you're making and you're making it because of other people, you're going to hate yourself and you're going to hate your life. So that's very true. One little piece, of I don't like to give advice because I still have so many things to learn and I'm still,
we all do. Yeah.
So it's more about my experience and what I can observe from myself.
Absolutely. That's absolutely. Well, again, Dimitris, I really appreciate you being on the podcast and having this conversation with me.
Yeah. Hey everybody, this is my song a long time ago, and this is going to be a stripped down version of it. Thank you, Dave, for having me to your podcast, and I hope you like this version.
pay my dues, and I'll travel far away from home to find a place I can belong. I know it now, it's not the place, it's the way